I did get my air cleaner all the way on. It's not perfect, and I really don't think it's my fault, but if you can see there's still a gap right there. And so I'm going to see if I can find me a nice fat O-ring that I can kind of slip over there to help kind of seal that up, because right now that's just going to allow air to go in without it being filtered up. I ended up having to make my own screw. This is this 1032 thread this carburetor pretty much uses has been a real bear, because for the most part, most common is the 1024 thread. But I've been making it work. I've been finding what I have in the junk pile. Inside here, we take the air cleaner out, and sure enough, there's another 1032 screw that's supposed to be right there. Now, whenever I picked this up from the previous owner, there was no screws holding it on except for this guy right here. That's all that would remain. So I had to figure out where the bolt holes went, cut screws, keep cutting screws, finding more places where screws went, but that's all done. It's on. I think it'll be good for right now. I finished up my exhaust system. Yep, there it is. Made myself a nice little stack. I'll get it. I'm gonna wait before I actually put it on. It's just kind of slipped on right now. See where I want it kind of positioned. The old one, like I said, and as you saw in the pictures, it was right up against the fuel shutoff, and that wasn't going to work. So the exhaust port is threaded, and so what I did was I just took some EMT fittings, and this is some thin wall fittings, 1 inch, and it's got the same MPT thread to go in, and I kind of just screwed that guy in. But what was getting me was that whenever it would vibrate because of it idling, it would eventually fall down. But then I found out that there are 2 screw holes on either side of the exhaust housing. Probably if a different manufacturer of these tractors that were using these engines did a different kind of exhaust system. So what I was able to do was ground the heads off and just tighten them in there to where this guy, it won't rotate at all. So I'm gonna wait. What I am gonna do is I'll drill out the set screw here, and I'm just gonna use a self tapper, and I'm just gonna shoot it in so that way I can take the exhaust off and on. But I think it'll work pretty good as long as I get nice and tight. There is gonna be a little exhaust leak going on there because the fitting itself is not real tight. I'll see what I can find. Maybe some high temp tape for an exhaust gasket, but we'll see how this goes. I can't just weld this onto the fitting because I have to, if I want to take it off, the exhaust stack right now hits the lever. I was thinking maybe I could get away with, you know, like maybe taking the wheel off or something and just spinning the whole assembly off, but it's not going to work. My clutch is in the way. I did get my epoxy set on there. It's not going anywhere. You can kind of see the it leaking out there out of the holes. It's much better. It doesn't try to move on me anymore. You know, I'll have more of an idea where my throttle position is, and there for a while, if it was at a place, it would actually kind of jam up that throttle lever. But we're good. So a couple more things I gotta do. One is I realized I mounted my seat springs backwards. Instead of the spring being back here, it's actually supposed to be facing forward, and you kind of lean back a little bit. I was kind of wondering when I was sitting on it why I was like one of those old folks easy up chairs. It seemed like my butt wanted to slide off. So I gotta take all the bolts apart and flip the springs around, take the seat back off, put it all back together, but we'll get that done. I still need to take my tires off so I can have them mounted tomorrow. But for right now, what I'm working on is this hood. Someone went and hacked up the hood whenever they put on that cheesy generic exhaust, and they hacked it up real good, and it's pretty nasty. But what I'm going to try to do here is I made myself a little radius using a paint can lid. I'm going to cut this out and see if I can clean it up just a little bit. Wish me luck. I have no idea how that's going to go. And then I did pick up some material to make a kind of a grill to cover this up. This is the material right here, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. They had a big sheet for 30, or this little half sheet for 15, so I decided to go ahead and go with the 15. We're gonna see if I think that's gonna fit well enough. I just gotta see about cutting it out, getting it to work. Another thing is this hood, this front bar, I guess it would be the closest thing that you could call to a bumper. It's all bent out of shape. So I think we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to hammer that out, see what I can accomplish. Yeah, I just want to give you guys an update, kind of show you how this is gonna go. All right, I got them mounted on. These things look pretty sweet. They are the factory same size tire, the 18 by 8.5 by 8, and they are that's the brand right there, the OTR. And for anybody that's going to do it at home, remember these are a directional tire with the arrow pointing. The guys over at the tire shop put on a new valve stem, so I was pretty stoked about that. And overall, I think these guys are going to look pretty badass on the mower. One thing that's a little bit of a trip for me on these guys is that these lugs, or these studs, I mean, my bad, are actually just carriage bolts. So whenever you're putting these tires on, you got to kind of have one hand pushing them in while the other hand's kind of holding these guys back. All right, there she sits. I think it's pretty level. I was kind of worried there that those back tires sat up kind of high, but that was before they were mounted and then inflated and whatnot. Actually, I compared them to the old ones. I rolled them up there, and those ones seem like they're higher. It's just a difference of whenever they're mounted on the rim to, you know, just kind of sitting. But I think they look pretty good. Okay, I wanted to share with you guys the status of the hood. I went ahead and cut out, you know, trying to make it square, cutting out the old broken bits. That was one side. Like here was like another side, and I, for the most part, just got kind of squared up. I'm gonna go ahead and I made a little grill right here that we're gonna set in here. I think I'm gonna make this the top. I got the hood upside down on this cardboard here, so just bear with me, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get that on there and paint it John Deere green. I don't know why I have that can of spray paint, but I do have a can of John Deere green color match spray paint, so yellow would probably go better, but hey, we're doing this on the cheap. The next thing I'm also working on is this kind of like the front bumper. It's riveted on to the fiberglass of the hood, and yeah, they cut this off. This was a big old nasty cut right here. This was like, it was like janky, and it came out and it came down. Here's actually the piece that I ended up cutting, and it too was even broken there. That wasn't me, honest, but I went ahead and I just tried to round it out, tried to make the contour a little bit better. But someone in their infinite wisdom decided that this side only needed one rivet and cut like part of the metal support for this bumperette, I guess is what we'll go ahead and call it. But on this side, you know, you can see you have two rivets right there. I'm not exactly sure what these guys did to break out the middle of this part. I'm not exactly sure, but I know there was a void there. I think I've seen in some of the other John Deere videos for the 111s that there was the logo of the badge of the Deere, and that was probably like somehow attached on, because this looks like it's a kind of factory. But as far as the bumperette, I've been trying to work out some dents on this bad boy. At first I thought it had a big giant dent there, kind of in the middle, but I think that's actually a natural curvature of the steel, because if you look there, that's actually kind of creased as well on the inside where it didn't receive any damage. So the way I'm doing this is I took one of my large C-clamps, and I took a piece of scrap metal here, and I'm just kind of working it out bit by bit. making it straight. It's a lot straighter than what it was a little while ago, but I'm gonna kind of work on that for a little bit longer and then be done with it. What little curvature I have left, what lip I have right here, I'm gonna go ahead and drill some holes, and that's gonna be what's gonna kind of sandwich my grill on, and I'll paint that green as well. I gotta cut one more of those, but yeah, it just kind of stops there right where the hood starts going in for the yellow lettering there. Okay, my grill is done. Turned out okay. It's not the greatest thing in the world. It's going to look better once I paint it. It's pretty thin. It's just aluminum. Turned out a little bit higher. I was kind of shooting to get this about level, but when I was drilling this hole, for some reason I wasn't going fast enough, but that bit kind of walked on me. I don't know if it was the fiberglass, if it hit a hard spot or something like that, but that was the very first hole that I ended up drilling. So that ended up setting the standard for the other side. The other ones went pretty easy, like this one in the bottom here. There wasn't much material left, but I got a hole shot in it. It's still a little flimsy because it doesn't have any cross support on the top or the bottom, but I think it'll be okay. It tightened up because this is actually, you know, this thing is actually on a curve a little bit. I just wanted to pretty it up. The front bumperette is what I'm calling it. It turned out pretty good. I got most of the dings hammered out. It's not perfect, but like everything else, I'm just trying to make it look just a little bit better. It's still just going to look like an old farm tractor when I'm done, but at least I know that I made it better than what it was. All right, there she is. We got the hood on. Nice and bolted down. It's being held up with the one spring that it came with. I don't know if that old spring pulled the cotter pin out or if these things just came with one spring. I'm not sure. But she's all back together now. It looks good enough. I need to take it back apart during the day so I can paint it. Another thing I got on is my ridiculous muffler. Now, I bent all this pipe up pretty much sight unseen. I didn't know how tall I needed to make it. I didn't know. I put the kick on it there at the end to because I was afraid that the wart muffler, that's what I'm going to call it, the wart, was going to be in the way of the hood. There's plenty of clearance. I don't like it, so it's not going to last too long. Maybe this winter, after this mowing season, I'll do something a little bit different. It's secured. It's not going anywhere. It does wiggle around a little bit. I'm going to see what I can do. But I ended up just putting a through bolt in there on both sides. So it's quite the contraption I threw on there. I like how it's attached to the engine. I'm not a big fan about how tall it is. It's pretty ridiculous. It may sound even louder. Let me sit down here on it, because it's pretty much right at head level. But let's fire it up. This is the first time I've tried it out. Probably sounds a little bit louder than what it really is if we were outside. This is the first time I've worn no earplugs while running it, and it didn't sound too bad. Okay, got my grill painted up here. Gonna put that on here pretty soon. I went ahead and power washed it one more time, just kind of get all the nooks and crannies, and definitely all the undercarriage that I wasn't able to clean the first time. And it looks 10 times better, I think. So I got that going for me. While I had the power washer out, I went ahead and decided to do the mower deck. And yeah, as you can tell from the tools and the welder, things didn't go so hot. I ended up, after cleaning it off, I found a whole bunch of cracks, which probably isn't surprising. You know, these things, if they're stored outside with grass clippings on top of them and then they get wet, it absorbs that moisture and doesn't let go, and it really has just rotted through. It wasn't easy on some of these places. I was blowing holes left and right. Yeah, it looks pretty bad. I mean, it's not some of my best work, that's for sure. But here, let me flip it over and I'll show you what I did underneath. So here's underneath, and of course as soon as I get into the sunlight I realized I missed a crack, but I think this is going to be good for right now. This part was really bad. This stuff's super thin. It actually already still has, there's another crack right there. I think the only way to really fix this right is if I just took it all apart, took the blades off, the pulleys, probably started laying down some more sheet metal to thicken this deck up. That guy came loose as well for the little divider there. I'm not really proud of that one either, but it wasn't a good spot to kind of clean up. I'd definitely have to work on it a little longer than the 45 minutes that I took on it. And then of course that one way over there, and I'm sure if I sandblasted this thing and kind of looked at it a little more closely, I'd probably find some more. But yeah, burned through right there. Decided just to keep it. It's a drain hole now. So the blades are okay. They got a little bit of wear right there, but well, we'll just roll with them for this summer, and then I'll see about maybe taking it apart and reworking it over the winter. Throw some paint on this, we'll get thrown under the mower.